I just want to give about 30 more seconds for everybody to get in, and then I think we're good to go. Yeah, you look good now. I think it was just the stream setup, but
Cool. Do I need to, let's see, lower this once again so I'm even with you? Yeah.
well, here we are. Welcome back, everybody. It's our Tuesday night special, as always. Probably one of the most exciting episodes that we do each week. Obviously, I've just been numbering each episode as we go here. So this is episode 21. And tonight's topic is going to be interesting. Tonight's topic is going to cover more than just tactical information. And so if you have 20, 30 minutes here and you want to change your life for the better, this is the perfect opportunity to invest, not just your money, but your resources like your attention and your time before anything else, because you kind of have to make something like this quite possible. Welcome back to the Ascended Podcast. I'm your host, Caleb Schulke.
My name's Anthony Parra.
And tonight's episode is special. Not just because, we've already hit episode 20 and we're working on the next batch of 20 episodes, but tonight it's the episode where we draw a line in the sand. History, we've talked about history many times before, but I want to go back to the point I've made. It's that every movement, every revolution, every breakout company, every billion-dollar community, it begins with a small group of believers. And by the time the flame gets so big that even you're hearing about it on your Instagram feed, which you will if you haven't been involved in this, that's where the real believers are proven. And today, I want to talk about why those first 200 people who step into Altura may go down as some of the richest and most influential entrepreneurs of the time. Anthony, you ready for this one?
I'm ready. Let's get into it.
All right. Let's start with the facts. So, first, look at CryptoPunks, one of the biggest NFT collections out in the market. They were minted in 2017 for free. Most people don't even know that they've existed that long. You just had to claim one. You had to go on the market and just say you wanted a profile picture. They weren't even doing an official sale yet for these. A few years later, when the NFT market actually took off, those early believers had tokens selling for about $200,000 a piece. That's more than a Bitcoin. That's twice as much almost as a Bitcoin from a free picture that they were given. Very similar to that same story that you hear with Bitcoin. The Bored Ape Yacht Club minted for 0.08 Ethereum, which is more than what Altura is minting for. About a couple $100. So within a year, right, they were selling for six figures already. They were already pushing the $200,000 to $300,000 range as NFTs came back and really grew to their strongest ever outward presentation. You had celebrities hopping in, you had endorsements, you had social media pushing it. They weren't first, but they had the best appeal of the time. CryptoPunks was first, but Bored Apes was at the right time. And there's two ways that shows to win. Within a year, they were selling, again, probably on average, the lowest you could get one was about $75,000 to $80,000. And holders weren't just buying a JPEG, an image to use for their Instagram profile, their Twitter account at the time. They were buying into an exclusive club. And that's why most people didn't simply get NFTs. They didn't look further into the actual intent beyond them. It's the community. And then there's more modern projects, right? Like Pudgy Penguins. The team that reinvented the project expanded into mainstream brand deals after the first mint of the tokens. And suddenly these cute penguins were trading hands for life-changing money. After going into your local Walmart in, Waco, Texas, or Nebraska, or Maine, or Washington, and being able to go and see one of these plush dolls in a Walmart because of the sponsorships that this community set up. Then dropping a cryptocurrency, dropping a media channel, appearing on podcasts. Pudgy Penguins became a global brand, and it was almost impossible not to hear about them at some point. So there's a pattern linking all of these. Scarcity, having a limited short supply, right? A capped amount. For Bored Apes, that was 10,000 tokens. For Altura, that's 8,888, even more scarce. Second is belief before evidence. People had to choose to accept a crypto punk, to put it as their profile picture, and to believe that that wave was coming, believe that crypto was going to spike, that the markets were going to come back, and take action to believe that. And finally, to act in a community bigger than oneself that creates culture. Culture can't be defined and driven unless someone follows you. And I can open the door, I can lead the way, I can show you guys what our vision is, but unless you come and step through that door with me, Altura is as good as nothing, really, because the people at the end of the day make those decisions. They make the life-changing network. You are the lifeblood of this project. And so Altura is following the same wealth building trajectory, but with something even those projects that I just mentioned and Bitcoin itself didn't have: real world infrastructure, startup funding, and education built from day one to help every member, investing the maximum amount of money back into its people. So, Anthony, that's our whole build up for today. That's defining what today's podcast is going to be about. But I want to ask you, why do you think probably, I would say it was at least, 80 to 90% of people in the first NFT wave. And probably at this point, when the NFT market's slow, it's probably 99% of people are still missing this pattern over and over again. One, it's so obvious in the hindsight. So many people are saying, well, where's the 1000x opportunity? And then they don't take the actual risks on to make it happen. So again, why do you think people miss these patterns, even though it's so obvious to recognize them on the back end?
Yeah, well, everybody says the saying hindsight's 2020. I think that the reason they miss it is because they deliberately choose to. It's just not labeled as missing it. It's labeled as this seems as too big of a risk for me to take. I don't think it is that they've missed it. I think that opportunities are clearly presented in front of everybody. Everyone who made 10x their money on a rug pull meme coin or on some sort of stock that some politician bought had the opportunity to at some point. It wasn't like it was a secret. I mean, if you just look up on Reddit, you look up on Wall Street Bets, you look up on, X, anywhere really, the people are talking about it. The information's out there. It's more like, do you have the faith that this is possible for you instead of just only being possible for these lucky people? I think the answer is that the lucky people are just less risk averse. They're more willing to take risk and they're more willing to understand the potential upside as worth the time and money that they're about to risk.
So, what I'm hearing, what you're kind of explaining is, it's not necessarily that they're just obviously missing, information passing by their Instagram feed. It's that they're not the type of person that goes out and looks for those opportunities. They're thinking that these opportunities were just provided, they were handed down to them. But the people that actually made 1000x on Bitcoin went out and went on those websites. Remember that, like, I don't know if you heard about the website that, like, would, if you solved captchas or whatever, the security things, it would just give you like 5 free Bitcoins. Back in the day, like, there were these opportunities to get it, but you had to have the vision of seeing that into existence.
Yeah. I remember, I don't remember how old I was, but I remember the first time I heard about Bitcoin. I was young enough. I was still a kid. I was young enough to not really care because it's not like I had money at the time anyway to invest. But I remember it was reading either an article online or actually in a newspaper. I don't remember. That was saying it was basically on a cover story for a person who had become homeless. They sold their house and took what equity they had left in it to buy solely Bitcoin. And I remember thinking, I mean, obviously I was kind of influenced by the ideas of my parents and the other adults in my life, but I remember thinking that was the dumbest thing they could have ever done. Like, what's a Bitcoin? Why would they buy this imaginary dollar? And I can only imagine how pretty that family is sitting right now, because of the risk they took probably 10 years ago.
Generational wealth. Yeah, they don't have to work again. They don't have to worry about money for sure. But it's
Yeah.
because most people think it would be easy to find those opportunities, but to have the ability to that's like that's probably a lucky situation. That's probably an easy situation. Most of the time these opportunities aren't even that easy compared to what you just said. You have to take on an insane amount of risk and I guess missing out on what most people would say are sane opportunities in the market to kind of create that for yourself. You'd have to purposely look delusional selling your house, right? Against all odds. So you have to act in a way that is so different from anybody else. To be exceptional, you have to be an exception to what the normal behavior is. And most people just don't have the hardwiring or the ability to A, want to go against the grain, and B, trust in something that's so obscure. So I I want to like the question I guess I'm trying to phrase here, and I'm trying to take notes is what do you think has to be in somebody? What traits does someone have to possess to be able to find that those opportunities and also execute in them, enough to 1,000, 10,000x their money or something like that and create that generational wealth? What do you think those common like traits are as a person?
I think, well, the first one that popped into my mind was a confidence in self, meaning not that you wear whatever you want, do whatever you want because you're confident. I mean, that's probably a byproduct, but I mean the confidence to take leaps and to do things you think will work out, without any consideration of what you think other people are going to say or think about you. I think that's a trait
That's
that
hard. That's hard.
it's extremely hard. It's something I'm not even close to mastering. I still make a lot of decisions based on what I think people will say or think about me. But the Musks of this world, the Steve Jobses of this world, the I don't remember the founder of Nike either, but making waffle shoes in his garage. People, if they had cared what people thought, or I think Henry Ford said this too, if he cared what people, or no, his was a little different. If these people cared what people thought, they would never have accomplished what they accomplished because it required almost a delusional sense of confidence in themselves and their abilities and their ideas to a point where they're just going to go out and try it and execute. And if people think they're dumb and people call them crazy, then so be it. But they're at least going to try. So that's the first trait I can think of. Um,
Most it's like almost like being broken a little bit because you have to like there's a safety alarm that keeps us like the pack mentality. If you're a sheep, right, and you're going outside the flock, you're putting yourself in a great chance of a wolf coming in and swooping you up. So you basically have to take action that we're still animals as humans, right? Is doing the same thing is going against our biological wiring to say, I'd rather take on this risk than take the surefire path. And again, by definition, you have to be an exception. And that doesn't come from just following the traditional beliefs everyone else has. It's from listening to podcasts like this, opportunities like that. So, what do you think most of the people like? If you just took the average person that is in that like micro percent, if you said, well, why would you not why would you not just put your money in the S&P? What do you think would be like the average response from one of those people? Like Elon Musk or somebody like that.
okay, if you ask someone who is that small percentage of people, I think it's because they know their money is better spent elsewhere. I mean, it's something I had to kind of figure out for myself too because I had a retirement going, and I've talked about it a couple podcasts how I liquidated it actually in an effort to bolster my own endeavors. And I think that they would say, I don't, like that just doesn't make sense for them. Like in a position where you kind of are creating your own destiny, why would you rely on the destiny being created by others? Where I'm just going to
Mm.
invest in the work and labor and time somebody else is putting in when for a pretty not guaranteed but expected predictable result that's low. Um, when it might not be predictable, I might not know exactly what's going to come, but the availability of making way more and seeing way more fruit of my labor coming from just doing something on my own is probably higher. So I think that's what they'd say.
Yeah. And again, most people think like they have to blow other people out of the water. But if you really just diversify enough, like you don't have to sell your whole house and just put it in Bitcoin. You could take $100 and diversify that into a new crypto. And, worst case is it loses 20% of its value, but you're not like blowing your portfolio. You're also taking the risk that these things could then skyrocket. So you don't necessarily have to be at the crazy extreme. Those are just the people that create that generational opportunity. But and that's obviously the most exaggerated form of what he just said. But you can just have the means to go out there and say something is not right. You have to have the ability to say something's not right in the way most people live their lives in terms of investing and creating lifelong opportunity. I know something else is out there. That's actually more of a logical connection, right? Because you can see how most people live, where the median income in the US is. And you say, well, we got to try something else. And then when that switch is flipped, I think it's really hard to go back. I think Elon Musk, it would be very hard for him to be like, I'm going to sell everything and go invest in the S&P. He will, because like at some point he has so much money he might as well put some of it in, but I think he's always, till he's dead, basically going to keep investing into those different ventures and taking on risk, because that's just who he is as a person. Like which is why most gamblers, right, when they make a bunch of money, they end up going broke, because they go back and the only thing they know is to do the same thing they did before. Same thing with lottery tickets. The people that go out and buy lottery tickets and take big risks on are probably going to blow through their money in the same way. Um, just because you're not going to change the type of person, you're just going to change the situation you put them in. And so you have to grow and invest mentally first to create the opportunity. But once you do, and once you learn that 1000x mindset, the people that invested in CryptoPunks, they didn't even invest. They just got a free token. People that claimed free CryptoPunks that are now $200,000 a piece still have the mindset. So they're probably the people that are ahead of the game. And now they're like probably famous investors, right, on X, scouting out the next projects because they've made insane potential. And they've proven that they have the belief first. So do you think people are really looking at, the family that sold their house in terms of, like, do you think more people find them interesting because of the amount of money that they have, or the fact uh, that they took the risk on? Like, which of those do you think is what, makes their story better?
I think it depends who you ask. I think the general populace would say the money they made. Um, but also the general populace is the same people that clowned on them for making the risk.
Yeah.
So I think, like, if you ask me, like, I would want to pick that dude's brain and be like, how did you know? How did you figure that this was worth putting you and your family on the streets for some amount of time until, you know, until this paid off? So that would be more interesting to me. Money to me is a tool. I mean, a lot of people have a lot of money. I'm just trying to join the ranks, so that's not really my interest. But
I think that is a good thing, though. I think there's not that much different from people that play the lottery than that do this. It's just the people that do this probably had a plan. They probably knew, like, they knew what the opportunity was, and they went into it understanding that value is driving a lot of these things first. A lottery ticket's literally just luck, and I think the slight difference is that those billionaires know that one is a moonshot like lottery ticket. The other one, they kind of have some sort of control and variable math in there that they can kind of figure out. So if you look at it from an analytical, they still have that brain that says this is the 1000x potential here. If I didn't know what the odds were that I was going to win the lottery, then I wouldn't be a very good investor, would I? If I did, and I think again, you can challenge me here, but I think if you knew the odds, and again, there's that movie about the guy who like bought those lottery tickets and broke the system and won all that money routinely, just due to a math problem. Then you could quite literally treat the lottery system like an investment. So it's kind of the way of thinking, but also where you're finding the opportunities too. Maybe the common denominator is just, um, still the same, knowing that there's opportunity that's different from just putting money in the S&P and hoping you scrape up enough someday. I'd say those two people probably hang out more than the billionaires hang out with the S&P investors.
Yeah, I'd agree.
So here's what I want to show people, and I'm not promising anything. I'm just doing the math here. This is just math, like I just said. Let's look at it like an investment opportunity. Right now we have 200 whitelist spots. That's it. 200. Let's say you mint at whitelist, and by the way, whitelist means you guys join the community with the link that's down below. You get into our private group and you chat and you start talking to people. You start learning about their stories. You talk about the vision. You get excited for this, and you just let your belief display. You level up and you get to the fact where you have a guaranteed spot to get that early pre-sale price, the whitelist. If you mint it out whitelist, by the time phase 2 of the public mint opens, the entry point will already be about 80% higher than your initial token. So that means just holding between phases, right? Not even including the hype that we're about to give this, just waiting, just buying now and waiting, your NFT is mathematically positioned to be worth up to 80% more in about a few months, compared to the stock market returning on a good year about 12%. So you are quite literally giving yourself a 6 times rate of return from just waiting and looking at the math. When the S&P is still a risk there, right? I mean, this is still a risk because we have to sell it, but everything is a risk at that point too. Just waiting with time is a lot less dangerous than putting your money into a bunch of stocks in a market that's been so volatile. So that's not financial advice. Again, that's just the math of it. I just want to show you guys. You buy it at, let's say, 0.06 Ethereum, and then maybe phase 2 is 0.11 Ethereum or something like that, or 0.12, let's just say. That would be a 2x. It would be a doubling your money. It'd be like basically a gambling lottery ticket that just doubles your wealth in a couple months without you having to really do anything except wait. Those opportunities don't exist on the everyday where you can just have time work for you in a very short amount of time. And know that there's going to be this resale value coming in as we grow our project. But that's even before we get to the real world value. So that's like nothing else matters. We're just going to sell these and the price is going to go up as we sell them with different phases. But then you add in the $2,000 of software that we're going to give you. So that's like video editing tools, could be like a website development tool. It could be a client database or a subscription to a tool that you can store all your coaching clients in, or your marketing agency clients, or whatever business you guys want to be in. Could be a global network of founders. Could be the other second biggest benefit, in my opinion, but depends on how you rack and stack these, which is, again, people all over the world, maybe even in your hometown, that you can go drive your physical car to and meet up with and talk about these different ideas and know that they also have the same belief as you. That could be invaluable. If that's your business partner that's doing stuff with you, who knows how much value you would pay on the open market to have somebody in your corner you could trust like that. Then you get access to our startup funding pool. So $1 million off the bat, off the rip, of funding that's going to get dished out to you. So you take that business idea, your marketing agency, your podcast, your software, and you come to us and we give you $10,000, let's say, for a small portion of equity in that. And Altura gets the benefit as you guys make money. You get the funding you need to grow. And it's not Shark Tank. You don't need this crazy business credit score. You just get the opportunity that you should always have trying to get off the ground. And again, that's just an included benefit. And then exclusive meetups where we get to go into major hub spots around the world and online, where we bring in speakers and give you guys education, which will also be digital. We'll also have digital courses, but then meetup events, conferences where you guys can learn about different entrepreneurial topics, where you're going to get access to those more 1000x opportunities as people in the community talk and discuss through these new moonshot ideas that have considerable traction behind them. The next Altura, maybe. You guys get to learn about those by having those specific insider information kind of conglomerates that are going on where people are passing tips. This is the next company I want to hit up. This is the next NFT project. This is the next, Bitcoin essentially. So all of those things combined could make you millions of dollars, right? In the long term, just racking and stacking the free softwares that you would have to otherwise invest hundreds of dollars a month into, and just pooling that with the amount you're going to grow. I'd say the most hidden benefit people won't uh, think about right away is that education, because you're taking a few $100s and turning that into tens of thousands of dollars by turning yourself into the type of person that can then look at those 1000x opportunities practically, right? Because like you said, you had to be a little bit broken. If nobody's teaching you how to be broken the right way and to find those opportunities in the future, it's not going to be very easy for you to flip that switch and look for more of them. So Anthony, let me throw it to you on that. If someone's listening to that right now, that breakdown, and they can see all those benefits, that obviously, right, those could all be like separate programs that you'd have to pay thousands of dollars a piece just to get into each one of those. What should they be thinking about when they kind of hear numbers like this thrown around?
I think there needs to be a distinction made. Um, I think that for the average person, let's just say, because a lot of what we make is for people like we've described tonight that are looking for that next 10x opportunity, looking for a way that they too can get like the lucky people, make it big doing something. When we hop on these calls or these podcasts rather, and we discuss what it is Altura has to offer, we discuss what it is Altura is about, we discuss the benefits. I I really want this to be as clear as possible for like you as a viewer that this is not we're not on here telling you buy Altura NFTs because it makes us money. We're telling you we have an idea for how the next generation of entrepreneurs could potentially all have something in common, which is Altura, where it's this digital syndicate that as people join and as people come in via purchasing an NFT, purchasing access to the syndicate. That's all the NFT is. It's not, in my mind and in Caleb's mind and in the people who are extremely invested in what Altura does, 118 members in our Discord, it's not a get rich quick scheme. Like this is the NFT itself is not even necessarily the point. It's the access to the point. So this is what I want to be extremely clear. You're buying access to many of the things that are going to be your next 10x opportunity. Or you're buying, well, and really, you're buying access to create for yourself a 10x opportunity. You're buying access to network with people that are coming in with their own ideas that are going to build these softwares and build these benefits that, and even more benefits than we can even tell you about right now because they're not even ideas in Caleb's or mine's or Caleb or I's mind right now. People, that's the whole point of this. This is what I'm trying to make clear. The whole point of this is not just the picture, just the NFT. It's buy access now to what will become things that we can't even imagine possible for the next hundreds of, maybe even thousands of 10x opportunities that lie in people's ideas and people's belief in the system as a whole. It's a system, it's a syndicate. We didn't just choose the word syndicate to throw around because that's a buzzword. It's a syndicate because as people, like you can look up the definition of this word, but as people come in, as people bring their ideas, we are syndicating, we are replicating growth through all of us as a team. People are going to come in and make the next, I don't even want to make, I don't even know what comparisons to make. Things like Opus Clip, AI powered tools that help people to save time when they're creating content, AI powered systems so that people who already have businesses can do things easier. And by joining Access, not only do you get to start up your own idea, you get to see what other people are working on. But when Caleb says you get access to softwares and systems that otherwise would have costed you thousands, Altura, because we funded those projects, gets the rights to use them. So you're joining this syndicate, you're bringing your ideas, you get the funding to make your ideas happen. You get access to the other ideas people are currently making happening, making happen. You get to meet up with these people in real life, in real time. Go to things that are highly exclusive because there's only 8,888 NFTs, and who's to say people don't buy more than one, right? So that's even more scarce. This is it's a belief system, really, the way I see it. It's not just a I've said this like 3 times now in this little rant I'm giving. It's not just a get rich quick. Me and Caleb are going to make a ton of money. Like, we're not getting paid for this initially. We only make money when everybody does. This is a group effort that's going to require the belief of all of us. So I just want that to be extremely clear. This is your 10x idea or your 10x investment to come is like being developed right now, and you can be part of that development is what I'm trying to say. And that's what purchasing an NFT for Altura is. It's your access to this system. So I don't know if I really answered your question more. That was just kind of what was on my heart to say.
I mean, and again, I can break the math down for you. You can get so technical into what all those benefits are, how the $1 million fund's going to get, dished out and all that stuff. And again, there's things that you can read about, like a potential cryptocurrency in the future, all those different things that could be opportunities that other projects have done that could just another 1,000 extra. You get 1,000 extra money on the NFT and then put the same thing with no risk because you bought the NFT. We could airdrop you a cryptocurrency and that could 1,000x again. Just because you already paid once, you can capitalize on the library of tools that we're going to have, the education. You can go to the events if they're in your area for free. And just think about, like, if we had 5,000 Altura partners that were, brands with our logo on the back end of them that said, like, their team has worked with our company. It's kind of like Shark Tank, right? That's going to drive value to our project. And over time, naturally, more people are going to start getting curious. Bigger and bigger investors are going to come in, pay more and more money for those tokens. And if you're a day one holder like CryptoPunks, only paying a couple $100, that's basically going to be nothing in the long term. You're going to be sitting on that potential that has compounded because of your early belief in doing something that most people would write off as kind of delusional in the off season of the market. Now, let's say 3 months from now when crypto comes back because they just lowered rates, the NFT market picks back up again. Now it's going to look less crazy, but now you've also traded in all of the belief of maybe it went from $200 to $5,000 a token. Now you just lost all that potential, or you could have bought so many more tokens if you would have just trusted a little earlier. That's kind of how that system works. And so we are rewarding the people that show the strongest faith. And I want to talk about belief before evidence. Every wealth revolution that we've kind of mentioned too on different podcasts is powered by belief before evidence. That's what, like, disciples, right? Didn't know that Christianity would spread to billions of people. I don't even think billions of people lived at one time back then. They just believed. The Patriots of 1776, right, in the American Revolution, didn't know that America would become the world's superpower. They just thought they were getting freedom for themselves. They didn't think they'd be leading the entire world just with a few actions of standing up to people that they thought were imposing bad things upon them. The first 100 employees of Amazon that were helping Jeff Bezos dish out books around the world, because that was the one business that they decided to settle in on at first. Didn't know that one concept, right, for Altura, it could just be the education or the networking, would expand to cover every industry, have a foothold in everything, just like the PayPal mafia, right, guys? They just believed. They believed that they actually had the potential to grow that movement and to expand it. The same exact thing's true with Altura. Belief has to come first, and that's why I kind of don't want everybody to know and be the big hype train on this, because you have to show that you're willing to go against the grain on something. In a market that's still undecided, you have to put in a few $100 and take the risk on it. And evidence will come when you do, because I've already outlined what they'll be, and I don't want to, spoon feed you, but that's the same belief system that made billionaires out of Bitcoin. And so if you're looking for the opportunity, I'm quite literally coming in, which they didn't do with Bitcoin, right? Because they didn't have a public founder coming and saying, hey, buy this. This is exactly what's going to happen. I promise you that opportunity is going to exist. You just had to trust in something even more obscure. And so I'm making it as easy as it can get. 200 people get to be the first believers in the whitelist phase. That's the amount of NFT tokens we have. I don't even think 200 people will buy those, because you're going to have multiple tokens being bought by multiple people. And so it might look like 50 people to 100 people. Those are like the disciples of this Altura belief system and movement. They have the strongest belief because they were first. I'd love for that to be one of you guys. So here's the challenge I want to put up for tonight. If you're watching this, first, invite one person. Right, that's the equivalent of being. Let's use the example of Christianity. Right, back in the day, of with the Roman Empire is kind of running everything. You had this secret-like symbol you drew in the sand of a fish that showed that you guys would kind of practice the same belief system. It could kind of be, it wouldn't be distinguished as its own thing, right? So it had to be this secret order, but eventually it became so big that it conquered the empire, and it transformed the world entirely. So you have to be the person to draw that symbol, to take on the risk of getting caught looking stupid or believing in something that might be stupid, but then transforms the world, because nothing else great happens like that. So invite one person to our Discord in the link that's attached to this or in my bio tonight. Do it tonight and show that you actually can take action and not just say that Bitcoin thing sounds cool. Somebody that has a mindset of the builder. Look for that guy in high school that's constantly starting businesses, the college roommate of yours that's constantly trying to find the next opportunity. Give them something and commit yourself to it too. And then secondly, just act. Reach level 5 in the community so you can unlock the whitelist eligibility and actually get that pricing, because then you're the first one to make money. And you feel so much better after that. When you can see the money coming in, you know you've paid yourself back, and now you can just enjoy the ride and help us grow from there. And then finally, I guess I'm not even going to say finally, because that's really, there's 2 steps in this. Finally is just continue your belief. Movements don't grow on autopilot. They don't grow, without action. They grow because each believer brings the next one in. I can go out there and market all day. I can run this like a business, an ad campaign. But if you guys don't actually think that everything I just said is going to be the case and take action to in accordance with thy belief, right? You might have heard that line before. Then we're not going to grow. And I don't want to treat this like a marketing campaign. I want to treat this like us coming together in a room with a circle of chairs talking about founding father ideas. So Anthony, I mean, based on that vision, based on what you've said, what we've talked about here, what's the biggest difference again do you see between people who sit back right now, maybe watching this and wait, versus people who actually take the challenge?
Yeah, I think my answer stands. It's from the beginning of this podcast when I said that it's a risk averseness that's kind of what's holding you back. It's a continuation of what's been for generations, when the same style doesn't necessarily, or the same decisions don't necessarily equate to the same outcomes as they did for previous generations. If you want to continue, in the same pattern you have, contributing to what people say you should contribute to, your 401k, your retirement fund, throw some money in the S&P, put some money in a CD, high yield savings, and you want to make a few percentage points every year, I mean, that's the safe option. But if you're tired of seeing so many people seemingly, and a lot of it's fake from social media, but seeing so many people hit these super lucky, just moonshots of opportunities and investments, or establishing for themselves a business that essentially does the same thing. They're just investing their own time and money into their own idea instead of the ideas of other companies. If you're tired of that, and feeling like you wish that could be you, that's a good sign that it's time for you to switch the way you think about it. Switch the way you think about risk from, the potential for disaster to a lever, a potential for seeing your upside finally, a potential for switching the way that you and generations after are going to understand wealth, money, power, production, instead of constant consuming, because consuming is the path that we're being pushed towards daily. I mean, most people don't produce anything anymore, even at work. It's just mindless work just to make sure that somebody else is making more money. So you got to change the way you. I guess I'm not telling you what to do, but in answer to your question, Caleb, the difference is how people think about their willingness to take risks and what it could mean. for their own gain.
Hmm. Let's make this crystal clear one more time. If you missed everything, Altura is not just another NFT project. There's a lot of people that join. They're like, "Hey, let's hype this up. Let's blow the roof off, and then let's stop giving a shit." Those people are great, and when we need those hype investors, right? We need the supreme, line up outside the store type people to get us kicked off, because those are the people that typically have the most faith initially. Um, but they also expect this not to last long. So we need people to buy our token. We need people to help us get off the ground. But we're not going to do what other projects do, which is disappear after mint. And so when the people buy our tokens and they cash out, those are going to be the same people that buy Bitcoin and sell it and be like, well, I got the hype. I saw it grow 20%, and then it grew another 20%, and then another 20%, and then another 50, another 100, another 200%. And now it's at 10,000% growth, and I didn't hold on to it. That's what's going to be what changes between the hype investors and the long-term billionaires that come out of this. Where most projects vanish, we only begin. We're going to have the $1 million community funding pool, basically a venture capital firm that's syndicated. Real governance, where your NFTs create votes in the system that defines what we do with that money, defines what actions we take, whose projects get the funding, what gets added to our library, where we do our meetups, all of the stuff I talked about. We're not just going to decide that for you. You're going to get to play the role. And so every day there's something new to get involved in to push us forward. This is going to change your life if you truly take action on it. And then global meetups with maybe free travel giveaways for certain people, or reduced fare, or free lodging, or maybe we book a few Airbnbs and invite people in those different areas to stay at them and network and spend the night and things like that. An academy rivaling top business schools, the stuff that Harvard didn't teach you because Harvard was too busy focused on macroeconomics and not enough on how to actually negotiate a good deal with somebody. The real tangible tech schools skills, but at an elite Ivy League level. And unlike these hype-only projects, Altura is designed to operate for 100 years. I mean that literally. This is something you will pass down to your grandchildren, and they'll get to go to the same meetups. They'll wear the badge, maybe even the pin that you see on our operators or will, of what Altura represents, that their grandfather or their grandmother believed in these early days. That's not just art. It's not. I just proved why it isn't. It's infrastructure. And it's most importantly sovereignty. We use the term syndicate, meaning we're all pooling together, but we're all pulling together to set ourselves free through it. Historically, people are going to look back at this podcast or this moment, this blip of time, these few months, and say, the believers in September 2025, October 2025, were the ones that changed the game. They were the ones that minted CryptoPunks. They mined Bitcoin, right? They did the things that would be a waste. And the next 200 people who step into Altura in the next few weeks or less, right? It could be several dozen, will not just be holders. They'll be the founding members of a new system of entrepreneurship. Belief before evidence, that's your test. Here's the final call to action. I want you guys to go to your phone, open up that little phone that I know you're probably scrolling on, or you might be watching this on, and go to Altura Society, Altura Society.com. Join the movement, right? Check out the website, see what the actual roadmap of these events are to just prove everything I just said again. You can see it in front of you. And then secure the whitelist spot by being active in the chat. Because when the doors close and we sell out, the price is only going up, and it's going to get harder and harder to participate. Anthony, any last words on your end?
No last words besides it's really on you if you continue to let the opportunities come right across your face and you don't do anything about it. And once again, Caleb even said too, we can't promise you anything, but neither could any of the other 10x opportunities, the other 100x opportunities that people are making money off of. And what separates us is there's a team of people that are in development of this protocol that already believe we're past that point, that already believe it's year 100 of the 100-year vision. And with a team that's that dedicated, that's believes that deeply in the success of Altura through its phases, um, is not going to fail. And if I thought it was going to fail, I wouldn't be spending a Tuesday afternoon when I have other things to do on here telling you guys to join. I wouldn't be telling all of my friends, and I've already had like 5 to 6 invites myself just in the last 2 weeks, and I've told way more people about it than that. Those are just the people that trust me well enough to, in my judgment, to put them onto something great. Don't let it pass you by. Don't let it be just another thing that you see on the internet and scroll right past. That's my last words.
You did mention that term vision, and vision is so important because before an artist, again, I've used this example, before an artist draws out a skyline, like a cityscape or a mural, right? They're not paying an artist for how they like move the paintbrush, right? That's great. You don't pay the architect, right, for actually going out there and building the building. You pay them for the vision, what they see and what they know about the way the world works, the way the opportunities exist. You're paying for our vision. Like, and you're paying to join that vision. You're paying for the vision that's the formula to success. Like an architect giving you the plans for a house that you go out and execute on. That's what I've done with my coaching business. I've given plans out. I've given execution steps. I've been doing this the whole time since college when I did a consulting capstone and got into this in the first place. I've talked about that on my episodes before, but the vision is what drives it. And if you don't see it in as much detail, and maybe that's partly why we have the website, why we have these podcasts, for you guys to quite literally sit back and see yourself opening that MacBook, Surface Pro, whatever it's going to be, going into Discord, chatting with our community, figuring out the next 5 things you're going to put your money into, and learning about like 6 new tools you can use for your company that month and getting it handed to you for free, and then closing your computer after investing or signing up for those services and knowing that money is going to come into your account because you have people that you can trust give you that information and set you up for a lifetime. And that's making your life insanely easy, giving you time freedom back, giving you financial freedom, letting you go where you want to our meetups. That is sovereignty, and that is syndicated sovereignty because you took action. This has been episode 21 of the Ascended Podcast. We'll see you inside the syndicate, and I'll be back tomorrow, as always, until we're launching this project successfully every single day with another episode. Take care.